Are you trusting in that first fruits of Christ, the resurrection? He's our first fruits. But are you going to be part of that harvest? Are you going to be part of that harvest? It's interesting that the first fruits is the Greek word, which I'm going to try my best to pronounce it, aparche. It's A-P-A-R-C-H-E. Aparche is the Greek word for first fruits. And it's really interesting because sometimes when you look at the Greek words that the Bible gives us, it gives you a lot of insight on what God was really trying to say. And this word, it was used for the offering of the first fruits, but in secular language, the word was used to talk about an entrance fee. And it's very interesting. The Jews, by offering their first fruits to God, they would be assured by God a full harvest. So they would take their first fruits to Him, and because they offered that sacrifice and that offering to God, He would bless the rest of their harvest. Offering at the Feast of First Fruits was also a bloodless grain offering. It was a bloodless grain offering. Listen, we talk about the resurrection of Christ. Look, the blood had already been done. The blood sacrifice had already been done. There was no atoning sacrifice that was necessary because the Passover lamb had already been sacrificed 3 days before. And so it corresponds perfectly with the resurrection of Christ because His death ended the need for sacrifice, having provided a perfect and complete atonement. The resurrection of Jesus is also the first fruit of our resurrection in the sense that He is our entrance fee. Remember, they use that Greek word secularly to talk about an entrance fee. Christ is your entrance fee. He paid that fine for you. He paid the fee for you to go to heaven. He paid that fee for you. But you have to accept it. You have to accept it. Jesus paid our admission to the resurrection. And with this, Charles Spurgeon said something that I thought was really interesting. Charles Spurgeon said, "Men admire the man who was first to discover a new country." He said, "Oh, then sing it in songs, sound it with the voice of trumpets to the end of the earth. Christ is the first who returned from the jaws of death to tell of immortality and light." He's our first fruits. But church, I ask you this morning, have you put your faith in Him? As we bow our heads, we close our eyes. We bow our heads and close our eyes this morning. Just want to ask you a few things. As in Adam all die, but even so in Christ all shall be made alive. Shall be made alive. You know, the Bible tells us that we've all been born like Adam. We've all been born in the flesh. And because of Adam's sin, he's the father of all humanity, the father of all mankind. We all fall from his seed, and so because born into sin. We are all born into sin. But the question, ever been made alive in Christ? The Bible tells us once again there in verse 22, for as in Adam all die. Death is a natural part of life. We all know that, one day we'll all die. It tells us in verse 23, but every man in his own order. You're going to die. You don't know when. I don't know when. And we've all accepted the fact that one day we'll die. We know that. But have you ever been made alive in Christ? The Bible tells us that if we will put our faith in Him, that we will be born again, that we will be given a new life. It tells us that we are made to walk in newness of life.